Hello everyone, my name is Laura Slito and I'm one of the founding members of Inspiring Females, and I'm here with Zoe Ward, who is a business and project director of Norwich City Football Club, and I'll be asking her a few questions. So Zoe, can you tell me a bit about yourself and the journey to becoming business and project director at Norwich City Football Club?
Hi there, Laura. Nice to meet you. I've sort of had a good 20 years now, probably working in football. It was something that I sort of fell into by accident a little while after I finished university. So I started my career kind of within sort of football regulatory and governance areas. And worked at the Premier League and at Fulham and at Liverpool. And sort of built up my career through the industry, very much focusing on kind of player transfers and player registrations and things like that. And that was the sort of capacity I first came into Norwich in. And then about nearly 2 years ago now, the club undertook a restructure and moved to a sort of shared leadership model. And I became one of three of the executive committee that lead the club now, and that sort of broadened my scope, and now it covers lots of different areas, things like HR, legal, catering, the Community Sports Foundation, and I think what it's shown me is that during your career, if you can learn certain skills, then you can transfer those skills into completely different areas, whether or not you've kind of had any experience in them.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So can you share one thing which has inspired you to be where you are today?
It's quite a tricky one. I can't actually kind of put my finger on like a moment that sort of inspired me. I think one of the things I really kind of thrived on and probably did inspire me to sort of push on was actually finding something that I loved to do and felt that I was good at. I really struggled when I finished university to find my path, and tried lots of different things and applied for lots of different jobs and got lots of rejections. And now in hindsight, I probably know it's because my heart wasn't really in wanting those jobs. I just wanted a job, and actually finding my path then kind of really created that inspiration.
Yeah, definitely. That's really great. Thank you. So here's a good one. What is the best aspect of your job?
I think in this job, and being given almost like a blank sheet of paper by the board, to really create a culture and an environment that we believe in and we want to implement, and that's great. It's great to have the opportunity to kind of take all of the experience that you've had over the years, to really develop the kind of workplace that you want, and you believe in, and it's probably that, along with the variety of working in a football club. There's different things happening every day and no 2 days are the same, and I thrive in that kind of environment, so I really love that.
And so what is your least favorite aspect of working in the sports industry?
I think working in the sports industry, you do have to compromise a lot. I always kind of say to people when they sort of coming in to work in a football club, you work at a football club on a football club's terms, not yours. And you kind of have to dedicate your life. It is a lifestyle job. It's 24/7. And a lot of the time I love that and I thrive on that. But other times there are where you think, God, I really wish I didn't have to make that compromise. I was nearly late for my brother's wedding because I was signing a player. Like, you're rushing to people's sort of birthday parties, and then you're like, right, you're on your phone or you've got to get away. And there are moments like that sometimes where you kind of get a bit frustrated with the fact that you have to compromise. But on the whole, you can kind of accept it for the plus sides as well.
Yeah, it sounds really like busy and kind of, a bit manic sometimes, and just, how it falls. Yeah,
it's unpredictable. You can sort of go into a week and think that it's a really quiet week, and then by Wednesday you've kind of got 3 players coming in, and you've got transfer agreements flying everywhere, and you're having to reschedule meetings, and you've got to be able to respond quickly. And like say, you've got a dinner and you've arranged to meet your friends, it's like, well, you're not going. There's no like, oh well, that I've got to go. It's like, no, you don't go. You've got to make this happen first.
Okay, great. So there is a preconception that working in football is heavily male dominated. Is this true, and how do you find being a woman working in the football industry?
I think it's very much less male dominated now. I think probably 20 years ago, when I started in the industry, it was more male dominated. I mean, I remember going to games when I worked at Fulham, where you would go into like the boardroom at a club, and I would have to dine with like the directors' wives, because they would have a male table and a female table, and and I wouldn't be able to dine with my counterpart from the other club. I'd have to dine with his wife, and that was very weird. I think you can either just kind of work through that and try and change that dynamic, or you can't sort of kind of just go, oh well, I'm not doing this and I'm walking away. You've kind of got to help change that culture and change those sorts of environments. And now I think I go to the like the Premier League shareholders meetings, and there are now a significant amount of women chief execs around the table. I think at Norwich we really understand and value the diversity of female thought versus male thought. It's not one better than the other, it's just different, and actually having that balance really helps us in the workplace. And we've got now we've got female physios, we've got one of our lead scouts in recruitment is a female, and we've probably got a balance of around about 35% women, so which is pretty strong, because naturally more men want to work in football. So it's always going to be slightly weighted in favour of males, but I do think the barriers to women entering football are much lower now.
Yeah, I think that's really great to see how it's definitely changed. I can see it was really quite different in the beginning. But so what are your top tips you would recommend to young people who are interested in working in the sports industry in the future?
I think it's sort of finding your niche within that. I quite often get kind of people emailing, or the club do, saying, oh, I really want to work in football, can I have a job? And actually, when you break it down, a football club's full of a lot of different professions. So, we have legal, we have finance, we have HR, we have catering, we have sports science, we have physios, so I think it's finding your skill set and your niche, and then applying that to the industry, rather than just kind of going, oh, I want to work in sports, so but do you want to be a marketeer, do you want to be a salesman, so I think it's really understanding where your niche is and finding that first.
Yeah, because there's just so many jobs that kind of make up the whole team as such. And like you were saying earlier about your, transferring those skills, I think that's really important. Not just go for the main area, but find what you enjoy.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how important is it for you that for young people to consider a career in the sports industry?
I think it's really important, because again, it comes back to the sort of diversity of thought and experience, and young people, the sports industry needs young people to come in with new ideas, fresh ways of thinking, to challenge the sort of status quo. So, you know, yeah, I mean, we have apprenticeship schemes and different things to try and encourage young people into the club.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. So now can we just talk about what's happening right now? So what has it been like for you amidst COVID-19? And so what have you kind of learned from this experience, and what would you like to take forward from this? And do you have any insight into the football industry in the future?
I think one of the key things I've really noticed is the importance of kind of culture in your organisation. So we've spent a lot of work over the last couple of years really embedding kind of a positive work culture where everybody kind of respects each other, and we understand that, you know, as a team we can achieve so much more than if we just kind of focus on ourselves as individuals. And like it's easy to have a really positive, great culture when, you know, like last year when we won the championship and everyone's happy and everyone's getting a bonus and all of those kind of things. It's actually times like this that really test that culture. And you know, and times like this can challenge it, can break it. You know, you can see fractions in it. And what I've really learned and we've seen through this is how important all of that groundwork was that we did. We never knew at what point it would be tested, but this has proven to be that test. And you know, we've seen some really great response from all of our colleagues across the club. I think another thing that's really important is leadership. One of the things that I really noticed early on in the pandemic was you know, people looking to you for the answer. You know, and I'm a bit sort of sat in my office going, well, Boris doesn't know, like, so I don't know, you know, I can't tell you, you know, when we're going into lockdown, I can't tell you how this is going to impact your job. I can't tell, you know, can't, you know, explain to you what is going to happen. You know, we don't know what is going to happen next week. And so what it's kind of taught me really is that importance of, you know, still leading even if you haven't got the answers, you know, and giving people that security that, okay, we don't know, but we will respond and we will act and we will do that quickly. And that's been really important too.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so kind of uncertain for everyone, and it's just like you said, it's the leadership to kind of bring everyone together and get through it as a team. I think that's
yeah, exactly. Yeah. As for the football industry going forward, we have got no idea.
Again, like that is, it's hard to know.
Yeah, you know, we're taking a first step at the moment onto trying to get back to training, but we also appreciate that, you know, anything can change in days or, you know, the next couple of weeks, and all we can do is start to put those plans in place and see where we go. But we really understand at the moment that we can't make any firm commitments on what it's going to look like.
Yeah, and it's just such a massive organisation as well as the, you know, the players to everything that the club does, and just trying to get everything back, I think, is really hard if there's so many pieces. Yeah,
that's it, and it's step by step at the moment.
Yeah. So can people working in sport be change makers?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that, like I say, about, you know, particularly about young people coming in, is changing thought processes and bringing new different experiences. And we've gone on a journey. Most football clubs kind of have a traditional kind of hierarchical model. They have a chairman, they have a chief exec, you know, this kind of all-encompassing decision maker within an organization. And we've gone on a journey over the last kind of 2 or 3 years that's, you know, we don't now have a chief exec, we don't now have a chair, we have a really kind of collaborative shared leadership model, and people know their responsibilities and have clarity over their responsibilities. And that's taken some adjusting. You know, some people do still struggle with not having that ultimately, I need to know who is in charge, you know, and it's like, you actually know that, you know, that might not be the case, and you might actually have to make your own decision. because there is no one central person to kind of go up to and get the answer for you, or for, you know, so you know, and a lot, even in football, kind of people from the outside looking in go, "God, how, you know, how does that work?" You know, it's so so different to what has come before. But from that, we've seen that our output has massively increased, because we're not bottlenecking, you know, across so many different areas of the club. And I think that there is real scope for people to come in and change the ways of thinking and doing things.
Yeah, and I think what you were saying about like transferring your skills earlier, I think it must help to develop by, you know, having to make decisions yourself, and just help, you know, that process as well, instead of relying so much on others to tell you what to do. I think that's really good model.
Yeah. Decision making for us is just a really key skill. You know, when you kind of, you know, you sort of have a certain culture where it is very, you know, kind of autocratic, and it's like, you will do what I say, people lose that ability to make a decision or become scared of making a decision. You know, and I look at it and I think, well, if you make that decision and it's the wrong decision, what's the impact? Well, the world's not over. You know, like, and you'll learn, you know, if you do feel that you've made the wrong decision, you'll learn from that, and that will help your decision making in the future. But unless you have a chance to make a decision, you're never going to grow with that experience.
Yeah, and it's definitely building that resilience, which is clearly so key now, with, you know, pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so finally, we want to empower the young people listening to become change makers themselves. What one piece of advice would you offer them?
I think be brave, you know, take opportunities when they come, even if you feel a little bit out of your depth, or you know, being brave doesn't mean that you're not a little bit afraid or a little bit scared, but, you know, push yourself out of that comfort zone, because you'll find you, and you'll find your kind of inner strengths. Another piece of advice, I know you said one, but it's something that Delia always instills in all of us, and in, you know, particularly in our younger players, is not being afraid to fail. So, you know, from any kind of anything that you deem as being a failure, take the positive and take the learning and go again, because it, like you say, in every failure there is always something to be positively taken from it.
Brilliant. So thank you so much, Zoe, for your really insightful and inspiring words. I just particularly love how you've said to be kind of your own decision maker and to not be afraid to fail. I think that's something that I would definitely take away from this. I hope that you and everyone else watching is safe and well, and that I hope that everyone enjoyed this interview and that it has given you some top tips to become change makers yourself. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Zoe, for your lovely interview.
No problem. Thank you very much.